I was running like the wind. I took physical fitness very, very serious. And then when you're a young private to like specialist, all you really have is your PT score and what you can show out. So I showed out and showed up. So I ended up in recon platoon. I was a good shot, shot really well all the time. I got my EIB early, expert infantryman's badge. It's a big thing for an infantry guy. I got a shot at sniper school. I had a shot at ranger school, screwed it up. I'm not gonna say how I did that. But luckily, I was, like I said, I was a good soldier. I got one gimme. I got my hand slapped for that. But they sent me sniper school. I didn't go back to ranger school. I'm gonna talk about it later. But yeah, went to sniper school. I was successful there and then deployed right away. So yeah, I kind of stayed in that realm for a hot minute because I love doing that job. Who wouldn't? When you think about being an infantryman, right? Being a ranger or like making an SF, that's like the epitome of what an infantryman should want to be. If you're an infantryman, why would you want to be on the B team? You know what I mean? Being a sniper on a line company, that's a step up. Being in the reconnaissance platoon when they had them, because they kind of changed the MTO around a little bit, that was a huge step up. You were like with all the heavy hitter alpha males, basically. I'm gonna say that, I'm sorry, but I don't care if I hurt your feelings. But yeah, like all the dudes that were like seriously, I say fitness, but it's important in your role. Your job is to literally be able to close with and destroy in hand-to-hand combat, and some people didn't take it serious. I knew where we were going. We knew we were headed to war, so I did. I wanted to be strong enough to where I could handle myself, and intimidating too as well. Not to be intimidating to like whatever, but shit, man. You're not gonna walk up to a dude who's look kind of intimidating. So just like you see all that Rangers and all those dudes. Just the way they look, man. They you can tell. Another dude, you can tell. I'm sorry, if you're on that level, you can tell if somebody's on the level and that they are capable of doing things. And luckily I got to work with a lot of those dudes. From there, I ended up being a section leader, sniper section leader. I was an instructor out at the schoolhouse for a while. I did go back to Ranger school, got hurt. Couldn't end up finishing it, sucked. Sucked. You got to really want to have that Ranger tab. I don't know if I'd have ended up in a battalion, but it's one of the hardest schools, and I give it up to all the Ranger dudes out there. Never take it away from them, Same thing with my SF guys. I know a lot of guys, people want to say about any community, whatever. I don't care your opinion. I know good soldiers, period. I don't care what you do. I met a lot of good dudes on every side, and it was great. From there, I being a sniper instructor, I had to go back and do my time. It's part of progression in the military, so I was squad leader on the line, and I got promoted on my position in country, too. On my second tour, I was kind of pissed. It was with my recon platoon, but they need a squad leader in another company, so it's just the role. You can't be, unlike the Marines, we're not an MOS, so you can't do it forever. So I knew it was coming, but that's when I went and been an instructor, so I could kind of give back to the community and kind of still be attached to it a little bit. So I got a little bit as being an instructor, so that was fine. And then obviously I ended up platoon sergeant on a Bradley's, and then actually platoon sergeant in line. And then a first sergeant, two of another mechanized unit, because I got stuck at Carson. Nothing against Carson, love the place, and just mechanized not where most infantry guys want to end up. Now, I wouldn't mind being on a striker, nothing against, Bradleys are, man, they pack a punch and they have a purpose. Everything has a purpose in the Army. But my preference would be, ground pound, call me a leg. I am airborne qualified, whatever. I ain't getting that shit. But I love my legs, I love my airborne guys too. Everything has its purpose. Being a first sergeant was great. I was out of, basic training. It was first sergeant out there. That's where I kind of finished up, Fort Benning. That was fun too. I loved every bit of it, man. I have, I want to say that I have said, I have no regrets about my military career. It's been awesome. I've sacrificed a lot, and so do a lot of other people. Some people sacrifice way more than I do. I got all my limbs in my digits, man. I can't, my mind is all jumbled up, and then, I got some problems. My body's taking a toll. I know I got some friends that, don't have some legs, so I get it. I will count my blessings, and I say that now, and it's hard to do that on a daily, but I did one day at a time, and I got to be thankful for that I'm here, and I'm standing here at the end of my 21 years because it's been a pretty crazy ride. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change my mistakes or my failures either, because I learned from them, and I can say I failed a lot. But I had good squad leaders, buddies to my left and right. I had good junior team leaders. When I was platoons, I had great squad leaders. God, I love those guys. And as a first sergeant, and they would correct me. And I was good enough a leader that my guys would pull me to the side and say, hey man, you need to calm down a little bit. You're rubbing us raw. And that was awesome. So I can say that about, the people that I had to work with while I was in. I was on a sniper team with some really awesome dudes. So I miss it. Yeah, being a sniper, it takes a different individual. But I did that for I remember about my first 8 years in the military. I was attached either with the reconnaissance platoon and line company, or in a sniper section or sniper team in a company level. So kind of progressed myself through the reconnaissance and the HAC, which is the headquarters company, sniper section too. So it's kind of what's the progression of being a sniper. But yeah, my first tour was with Alpha Company. My commander was awesome. Love the guy. I still talk to him to this day. He's retired, Lieutenant Colonel. Really awesome dude. Call him Snake. I'm just gonna call him Snake. That was the nickname we gave him, but he was gonna laugh when he sees this though. But yeah, awesome dude. I had my sniper buddy, really awesome guy. I'm just gonna call him Gus. Gus is a good dude. We went through hell together. Yeah. It was intense, man. You know, Mosul, 2005. What's really kind of unique and historical about my deployment is we got extended from George W. Bush Jr. Because they were having a lot of problems in Baghdad. So I was in not Mosul for just a whole year. It was kind of because that hadn't happened to a unit. We were already there for a whole year, and they asked us to step up and go down to Baghdad for another 6 months possibly. So that was kind of I got a story on that one too, I could tell, but that was kind of intense because I got the word while I was sitting on the tarmac waiting for the plane to take me home. We already had soldiers back home. He came out and said, "Hey man, you're getting on a plane, but you ain't going home." Yeah, that fucking sucked. I mean, everybody was pissed, and I just kind of looked at my guys and said, "All right, man, let's get through it." I mean, back then we were just, fuck, man, we were gun-hoeing, 10 feet tall, bulletproof. I think I just kind of sucked it down and was just like, fuck it, let's go, But looking back, I know I still had that regret of, fuck, I got to do another, it was an open-ended ticket. We didn't even get a time. I'm literally got my bags packed on a tarmac. I think that bird's going to take me home, and it's not taking me home, it's taking me to Baghdad. So it was kind of a kick in the nuts, but they needed our help down there. So yeah, I mean, first deployment lost a lot of good dudes too. I've seen a lot of rough shit. My first firefight, man, the one that is noticeable to me was we were on a patrol I was attached to. I can't remember if it was the headquarters unit or one of the platoons. And we were helping a patrol, just on one of the main routes. I'm not gonna name it, but run right through this, center of Mosul. Pretty heavy traffic route. I was falling on a striker. I had an M4 at that time. I didn't have my sniper rifle, but we had our gear in the vehicle. Sometimes we scout out vehicles and scout out positions and scout out whatever. So we just kind of in bed with people, and that's kind of how we did our thing. But I was just walking along, kind of just, looking, and it was a complex ambush. So they shot a RPG at the lead striker, which happened to be the vehicle that I was walking along. We were walking along the sidewalk on each side while the vehicles were going down the road. And we're just kind of clearing, making sure, looking for anything on the ground. And the RPG, man, right at my feet. I'm not even gonna lie. It was probably about 2 or 3 feet from my feet. It hit the ground, skipped off the ground. I'm lucky to this day. So he was trying to lead the striker. He obviously didn't lead the striker at all, period, because it stopped in his track once I heard the signature off the RPG. And then it skipped and went down the alley, hit a thing, blew up, and then we took some small arms fire, some sniper rifle fire from down the street. I'll never forget. This was a headquarters platoon, because I remember it was my commander. We had to chase the dude down. He ditched his rifle, got into a vehicle, ran from us, and this is crazy. He actually was shot a bunch too, and hitting him, but he ended up endoing his vehicle that he was, running away from into a semi. Got out from that and ran. Even, we're chasing him in a 22-ton striker down the alleyways trying to catch this guy. Ended up the other vehicle cornered him. I'm running so fast trying to catch him, trying to still kind of keep a little bit of bearing too, because I mean, you never know, it could be an ambush too as well, more people. So it was pretty crazy. Ended up catching the guy. Come to find out he was mentally handicapped, and that happens over there. So I mean, that was pretty intense. He was just battling us and everything, and obviously that's what they do. They these women and children, and in this case it was a mentally handicapped individual. I felt sorry for him, but none the same. He was obviously a combatant and was doing things that you shouldn't be doing, obviously. We didn't take any casualties that day, obviously. They ended up obviously subduing the small arms fire with 50 cal in Mark 19, which is a 40 Mike. And and then after we kind of figured out where the enemy sniper fire was coming from, which was just an SKS, I want to say sniper fire, but more precision fire. We ended up chasing that guy down and we caught him. So good day, but it's just, if you look at everything in its entirety, obviously using a mentally handicapped dude and the firefight itself. In fact, I had RPG skip like two or 3 feet off the ground in front of me. Like, holy hell, what the hell just happened? I don't know if that was my first one. I've been shot at before, but nothing like intense as far as a firefight. I took cover immediately behind the vehicle and did what we had to do and maneuver on the enemy that they were using a wall to shoot at us. So luckily the vehicles were there. Love strikers, love them to death. And they're big chunk of iron will take small arms fire all day long. So, but yeah, it was pretty intense that day, especially when you're running down an alleyway in a foreign country trying to chase a dude who just shot at you. So, but that's just one incident out of, I don't know, probably got 100, man. I wrote them all down, but I don't want to share too many of them. To me, that's significant just because, it's like when I saw the RPG fly at my face, man, like time stopped. Like, I literally watched the RPG come out of the fucking barrel of it because I literally just happened to be walking, turn, look, because the striker stopped. Everybody was like yelling because it was a shitty ambush. They kind of initiated a little bit early and then the RPG went off, but I happened to turn, look, saw it coming underneath the striker, and I'm staring at the thing and I'm kind of trying to get away from it, but I know that as an RPG, there's not much I can do. If it lands on the curb in front of me, it's going to blow up at my feet. So luckily, like I said, it bounced off, but in that moment, I thought I was going to die. And then after that, the rage, and then the muscle memory kicks in with your training, and then you start talking to your buddies and everything, and then you close with and destroy the enemy. And that's exactly what we did, down to tackling this guy on the ground, beating him a little bit to subdue him because he was still fighting us, amazingly. But that was Mosul 2005. I can't tell you the time of year it was, but that one sticks out to me significantly as the first kind of firefight. I'd been ambushed before, been shot at, but it's the first one you asked. But yeah, that one comes to me as like the first big SIGAC I say that I could remember would be my first time being in a firefight. And being shot with RPG, I guess that qualifies, and it's what it is, though. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. As much hate as I have for people in the world and things I've seen, things that I've done, I try to be morally straight. That's the word that we use all the time. And ethically clean is for what and I always told my soldiers, don't do anything immoral, unethical, or anything you can't stand in front of God and be judged. And you'll do fine. But sometimes you have to step out of that role because it's lives on the line. You have to make those calls, and sometimes, shooting children, women. You see it. You see videos and things of people, and it's the wrong people, and sometimes it happens. It comes with the job. It's casualties of war. It's a real thing. You try not to do it. I've heard stories from friends of guys, throwing engineers and stuff, throwing stuff in rooms and killing women and children. It's real. You try to mitigate those casualties 100%. As much disdain as I would say I have for the population of terrorism and where it comes from, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a racist person. I try to pay it forward because of the shit I've seen in my life. Ultimately, I don't want. There's so much hate out there that people in this country don't see. And these several countries I've been to, not just Iraq, Afghanistan, or been overseas in Europe, other continents and stuff. It's fucking real, man. People are evil. People are just plain evil. I've seen grown men use children as shields. I've seen women leave babies in the middle of the street during a firefight or something, and I've had to bring babies to women in disgust and like, how could you do this to your child? I've seen women get acid poured onto them. I've seen people blow themselves up right in front of my face. Some of these are stories that have way more depth to them I won't go into, but I've seen so much hate and evil and stuff. But I've also seen beauty in it. I've seen a lot of beauty, and I can't deny that either. I've seen lots of good people doing, soldiers, or, even in Iraq or Afghanistan, people just trying to live and survive through it all, on both sides, because they're stuck too, and it's not fair to them. And that's what hurts us, because, you want to hate so much, because it drives you in those situations. And I don't want to hate. And I didn't really hate back then. I was angry. But I wasn't angry at the populace. I wasn't angry at the people. I was angry at the situation. And you can only control so much, what's around you and your buddies and your bad on. I'm not there for the war. I'm not there for whatever our government want. I'm there to keep my buddy to my left and right alive and come home. That's it. That's number one. People want to say whatever about soldiers. We don't care what we go to war for. It's not why we're there. I go where my country tells me to go. But I joined, and I stayed because I saw grown men and young boys, young men, 18, 19 years old, and knowing they were going to do and what they needed to be successful. And I tried to do that as much as I could. And I failed along the way. I did. But combat, that's what you try to prepare for, and combat is hell. And you do the best you can. And you try and work with your buddies, leadership, your comrades to your left and right, and I had some really awesome people. I had some awesome dudes, some of the best in the world, men and women. I'll never forget the guys I served with, all of them. I'm not going to name them off because it's not a place to do that, but I remember every one of you guys. And I know I was a hard squad leader, team leader, platoon sergeant, first sergeant, but I loved every single one of you guys, and I am proud to serve. I'm proud of my service, even with the PTSD. It was worth every bit of it, even though it's going to affect me for the rest of my life. But that's combat, and it goes with the job. And I knew it when I signed up, when I joined. That's what I joined. I joined to be a patriot. I joined to go to war. It's a little different nowadays. Guys join to college and do whatever, maybe a career. That's fine. I joined for the culture. I joined to be an infantryman. Or whatever I could do, airborne, all that stuff, to be a sniper. I wanted to be the best. I wasn't the best. I was good. I was great. There's a lot of guys that are better than me, and I ain't taking it away from nobody, but I had a great career. And combat, like I said, man, it's just goes with the job. And even my second tour, all that stuff, even the second one didn't get any better. Neither did the third one. That's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, man, hell. That's the best fucking word I can use. Combat is hell. There was a police officer, female. She was a Iraqi police. I ended up talking to her for a long time. She was a mom, and she had 3 kids. She worked. I don't know, like her position. I don't remember it specifically, but she was a really nice lady. I just talked to her all the time when we go to the station, because she was one of the ones that worked there. And I knew where she lived because we'd pass by it, and I seen where her kids played and stuff. You get attached to some of that stuff, man, and that's what hurts the most, because she disappeared after a while, and I don't know why. So I'm hoping that she made it out or went to wherever, or maybe went with family. So I never saw her again after a while, but that kind of stuff happens too, though. Just like anything else, their whole daily thing is built around just, trying to get enough to eat. They eat a lot of pita bread and stuff. Their food's delicious. I love some of the marble stuff they did. There's beauty in everything, and I've said that before. You have to look for it. But it's just like I said. They're just a culture like anybody else. Whether their culture is different, their rules, their norms are different than anybody else. They're just trying to make a living, raise children, and whatever. Obviously they're in Iraq, and that's a different country, and they have different set of rules. That's fine. I had good interaction with a lot of them. I met a lot of good IP and Iraqi soldiers, and we talk and we joke, and they'd show me their phones, and they show me pictures of their stuff, and we joke around. I try and learn their language. I remember a little bit of it, You try to make the best of the situation. Some days were bad, way worse than others. Like, when we get in a firefight the one day, and then you go back to the same place, or, people have information out telling you, yeah, you're going to be a little bit standoffish, but when we're doing our daily patrols and walking, I try to, kids would come up and ask you for candy, I'd high five people all the time, buy stuff from them. It's just, I think our thing with the coin thing was one of the things that they used back was a phrase, but hearts and minds was the big phrase, was try and win them that way, and so obviously it was, and it's good to just, have good rapport. It's just, why would you want to? Then I got to tell you where things are, where the bombs are buried. So, it was all part of the thing, you know. But I did make some friends over there. I mean, obviously, I don't have their names, you know, but like the year and a half or some change I was over there for the first time, you know, the year I was in Mosul and then Baghdad. Everywhere I went, though, whether it was the interpreters, which were just the same thing as their country, they're trying to take it back and trying to help us, but they're, you know, also threatened all the time too. So, and that's another thing they got to worry about. So they're not just, I mean, we're looking for the terrorists too, terrorist cells, groups, whatever, or just the local individuals that are local gangs, because that's a lot of thing that it goes on there too. We call them terrorists, but over there, they're just people that get paid a lot of money because they don't have jobs. So what are they going to do? They're poor. You know, AKs and drugs and all that stuff is how a lot of that Middle East works. So, I mean, it's easy. Now they have jobs and stuff like anything else. I mean, people own shops, sell furniture, just like anything else, you know. But then there's obviously, just like we have here, there's a dark side to everything. And there's just a little bit more extreme because of the geographical, you know, area they're in. So obviously, let's say with the extremism of extremism, I would say, you know, radicalism too, then you get the flip side, and that's why we were there. I mean, I could say that I did meet some really good people. I met some bad people too. I mean, I met some dudes, like obviously my friend that I had to chase down in the car and subdue him because he shot at me and my friends, you know, like, don't shoot at my friends. I like my friends alive. But that's how it was, you know. And I mean, sometimes sometimes you'd patrol and it was nothing. It'd be a good day. You'd see people and out, and you know, you start to see people, the same people all the time. You kind of patrol the area. You gotta try to break it up, but you only get so big of a picture to work with. Luckily, being me in headquarters, we had the whole damn area, the AO with the other companies and stuff. So it was nice. We could do really whatever we wanted, at least as far as space wise, kind of freedom of maneuver. But I mean, the cars, like I said, everything is a little different. Obviously, being a third world country, but it's just like anywhere else, just a little different. I mean, poor. So you expect that going in, but then you throw a war on top of it, and then, you know, car bombings and shit on a daily, you know. I mean, but if it's not one part of the city, there was always a car bombing every day. There's always a bombing every day, always a shooting or a firefight every day, but maybe not in my AO. So just like us, that sucks. I don't want to go out and get shot at, but the people are caught in the crossfire too, so they got to deal with that. So that was rough on them. I mean, I can't imagine going through what they go through, what they've been through, a dictatorship and then an invasion, and then we're trying to help them, but then you're getting blowback from both sides. It's catch-22. So, I mean, I feel their pain. And, you know, I tried to be as cordial and, you know, let's say nice or, you know, empathetic. It's hard to do, though. So, you know, for me, you know, I got nothing but much love for the Iraqi people. It's rough saying that now because back then I had a lot of hate, but it's give and take, you know. But I can honestly say from the bottom of my heart, and they're just people trying to make a living, man. Just trying to raise kids like anybody else. And that's rough saying that because, man, it was, like I said, it was hell for me. I can't imagine if it was hell for them. You know, I got these people out there with guns and massive vehicles and all kinds of stuff on a daily, loud-ass vehicles with explosions everywhere. I don't know what it'd be like if we weren't there. Well, obviously, we've seen what ISIS did, so shit. I mean, really, was it? I mean, I'm sure, 9 times out of 10, I'm sure they wish they would have stayed, but I mean, that's just the way it is. So, again, casualties of war, and war is hell. But yeah, that's my kind of take on Iraqi people, you know. I mean, I could say the same about Afghanistan too. I mean, same shit, but really the same thing, you know. I can say Afghanistan, when I went, obviously things were a little bit different. I can't talk too much about, because I had a special mission. I got lucky, and I got to work with a lot of really awesome dudes. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So, it was good. But I can say that where we were at, you know, it was everything. The drawback had happened, and there was, you know, Taliban was already kind of in the talks and everything and pulling out. So things were kind of dying down. It's kind of like they knew we were going to pull out, right? So the SIG acts were still happening, but not as bad. Depending on where you were, there's still, you know, IEDs and shit and all kinds of stuff you could step on out there. So that was not good. Luckily, that mission was specific to training, you know, the conventional forces. So we didn't do a whole lot of patrolling. And, you know, so I did bounce around the whole damn place. I was from Herat to Kandahar all the way up to Kabul. So it was nice because I got to go everywhere and see everything. And it was a pretty short 9-month deployment. So, yeah, but same thing. My interworks with those people, same thing. I mean, I say the Kabul was huge, obviously, and it's a little bit more built up, but, you know, just trying to make a living. Obviously, the culture's different. So, again, their norms, their rules, their society, their culture, however they do it, fine. I'm there to do a specific job, what I'm told to do. I'm there for my buddies. And that's the same thing, whether I'm in a different unit or in another one, infantry unit or whoever. I'm there to make sure my buddies to my left and right get home, and that's all I care about. But, you know, my mission there was to train conventional forces, so that's what I was there to do on that specific deployment. The first two were straight just combat, like, hey, we're looking for terrorists, and we're gonna find them, and we're gonna, you know, blow them up. So you know, Iraq '05, right? We had heard, you know, all kinds of stuff. And this is kind of sort of, it kind of goes into a PTSD because there's a specific moment in the story that still kind of haunts me to this day. So we heard about Marines. I think it was Marines or Navy SEALs or somebody. You know, everybody's always doing high speed shit, trying to one up each other, right? I don't really one up, but like good ideas. So they get shared in the community, right? So spending a couple nights in a trash pit, right? Good cover. It's an urban area. There's, you know, shell all over the place. So we trained for that. You know, actually it was funny because one of the things we teach in sniper school, you never think, like, you know, spray painting stuff and using bricks and all that kind of crazy stuff. And they show pictures of stuff like that, you know, like how to do urban. It's really hard actually to do. Luckily though, my team and, you know, came up with a really good idea. And we infilled at night into a trash burning, you know, pit area. I guess, you know, it's kind of all over in the desert out there. And we were overwatching some area of interest. And the really why this story is important is the fact that we were able to do it, to recon at one, pretty slick like, and then actually walk across the desert with the equipment that we had to make it work. We still didn't get everybody into the hide site from where we were, which sucks, but we still had some cover from some other individuals because it wasn't just one team out there. So who we didn't get in there, which only was myself and my team leader, my sniper section leader at the time. So it was just me and him. And the crappy part about it was the way that it was angled. We couldn't see behind us. It was just the way that the hide was. So we had to rely on our buddies in the other buildings to cover us day and night. I mean, 24/7. And I knew that going into it. And that was a huge risk because I don't like not being able to see or cover. Nobody does. But I trusted my buddy. So it was my spotter, shooter, sniper buddy with another individual that we used on missions a lot. So it was them two. And I knew that if, you know, my buddy Gus was up there, that I was going to be good because I know that he wouldn't sleep or would make sure the right people were watching my back. So, so good on that. But the crazy part about the story was we were there for, you know, almost 3 days total. And like I said, it was in that book. Because it's a funny story because the guy did walk on us. I mean, he did. He was, you know, had some goats, and they do that. The goats will eat anything, man. They were just walking to the trash pit. They do it all the time, you know. They're burning trash everywhere, and I mean, it smelled so bad. I had to burn my clothes after I left. Guys were throwing up out the striker when we got in. There was bones. I got pictures of it. I mean, like as I was running away when we were getting out on the exfil because I didn't want to like stay there and look at it. But there was had to be like a goat femur. I don't know, it could have been human, but it was nasty, real bad. I was getting tetanus and all kinds of stuff and getting real sick, but because it was rainy. It was rainy season. I think it was around Ramadan. I want to say October. I think for sure, but yeah, it was a successful mission. We didn't actually, you know, action on anybody there. So I mean, I wasn't out. I wasn't hunting skulls. That wasn't me. 9 times out of 10, your job as a sniper, if you're doing your job right, is collecting the battlefield, you know, intelligence and reporting it back. I'm fine with that. You know, a lot of guys want to get notched about. Not my job. My job is to keep soldiers alive, looking for, you know, what I'm supposed to be looking for. So that's what I focused on. And in that position that I was in, we were looking at a camera and hoping that we could catch some stuff and some guys doing some activity during certain hours or just in plain sight because they'll do it. They're slick. You know, they had methods and stuff. So we watched that for a couple days, and like I said, it's like a second day. This dude comes moseying on down with a bunch of goats, and he literally walked on top of us. So we took plywood. I'm carrying plywood at like 2 a.m. across the desert, you know, undercover trying to because it was pretty dark and there was a sandstorm and some other stuff going on. We got to the site. We had to dig down, couldn't dig, so put the plywood in there, threw stuff on top, I had to carry a 2x4, cut it with little handsaw we had, and made it work. It was solid as hell because it held his weight. So he walked down, walked on top. So we had a hole open. It was covered up, and you know, during the night we'd open it up a little bit more. And during the day, obviously, we kind of try and move stuff, not to give off too much signature. There was a lot of trash everywhere. So, and the wind moved stuff around, so it didn't really hurt too much. But he walked, and I saw his footsteps. I mean, Tommy, like a foot in front of me. And his foot dropped down, and I look at my buddy. I got my 9mm out because we couldn't turn in there, right? So it was at an angle. So my feet were at the bottom half here, and obviously out here was, you know, you can look out and see everything. So when you're sitting in it, you were sitting back, and I was staring up at plywood. I just had my 9mm kind of pointed like this as he was walking on me because he couldn't get my M4 up, you know. He had an M4, I had my sniper rifle on my 9mm. So I got my 9mm on my chest. He's got his M4 ready to kind of kick it open and start, throwing rounds down. But the problem is where those guys he was in their funnel of fire, so they couldn't shoot at him if they wanted to. They had a 240 and everything, like 800 meters way off on a building, just watching the whole area because there was a lot of stuff going on at that time. And so they couldn't shoot him, but he wasn't doing anything crazy, right? So they're allowed to have AKs and stuff and, do whatever. So that's part of it. That was a scary thing too, is they're allowed to have that stuff. So he kind of got used to weapons being around everywhere. Didn't think nothing of it. So he walked in front of me, kind of walked out about another 5 feet, kind of like was just doing what I was like, God, this guy go away. Has goats and kind of turns around and looks back in our direction, right? And there's a shadow there a little bit. You can't do anything about it, right? And gets down because you can't really see. There's a slit, and we had it really pretty slick. He had to get in, and this is how close he had to get to even seeing. So it was pretty good. Gets down on his hands and knees and looking and doing the squinting thing, and then gets about a foot from me, man. And at that point, he was gonna come stick his head inside the hole. And I just looked at him and I took my 9mm out and I put it at his forehead and I said, Tifta Amriki, which is like, hey, I'm American, right? I think I said it right. And he basically kind of backed up, stumbled, I was worried about him grabbing his AK at his shoulder, because he kind of had it holstered. And he just kind of backed up and looked and kind of ran away. He was just a goat herder doing his goat herder thing and just happened to stumble on us on the most uncommon way possible. That fucking happened. That's real. I cannot tell you the level of, because I was scared because they couldn't cover us. They couldn't fire in a direction for fear of hitting us. So, and the thing is, there's a lot of avenues there. And you talk about, sectors of fire and everything, but we only had what we had, right? Anything else but that specific way, those guys could have covered us. He just came directly, literally in their line of fire, man. It was just insane. This is not happening. And so as I'm turned over with my 9mm pointed up, man, I'm just praying to God. I think I prayed too, please let this guy just not start popping off rounds through this damn wood. I didn't know if they knew we were there, but my heart going the whole damn time. Looking at friends man, this is it. This dude's just going to start capping rounds through this wood and we're done. Even if Gus and them guys shoot him, I'm like, what am I going to do? So that's the reality of things, man. That's one situation, but that didn't happen. We were compromised. We stayed there for a little bit longer. Not as bait, but conservation's about that. I wanted to leave right away, but it got really cold and I had every piece of snivel on too. This rain and the water sunk in. It got really nasty. So we stayed there, I think, another 12 hours, some cover a night, waited for nightfall, and then we got exfilled just before dusk. So, but yeah, successful mission, but yeah, definitely a scary ass one. When you know that your buddies can't help you out, there's a guy coming down on you with a weapon that could definitely kill you. You can't really defend yourself because you're where you're at. You can't give yourself away. You want to try and keep yourself at a low profile, and it's just, you're in the hands of God, man. Okay, hey God, get me through this one. That's the reality of it. Yeah. So there's a joke in the military. We say, you can't really get promoted unless you've had a couple divorces and some Article 15s. Not so much today. We're getting a little more professional. I can say that, but it's the same thing with everything else, man. The aftermath is I'm leaving the Army with alcoholism, PTSD, a bunch of pills, broken body. I need a new hip. I can't walk very far without pain. I got pain now. My fucking testicles hurt because I got nerve pain all the way through my body because my back has 5 out of my L's are just trashed. Nothing there. I have bulging discs all the time because there's my disc just ruptured because there's nothing left from the generation. My mind is just all over the place. I'm doing okay today. I'm sober today. I feel better about my path. I finally got all my answers. As far as my retirement, everything was figured out. My workings with VA weren't as bad as everybody made it seem. I can honestly say that. Maybe I just had a good bunch of people, but I worked with the doctors and they helped me out. Still working with them. I'm going to continue to work with them over the years because this ain't going away. I got to do this for the rest of my life. And hopefully one day I can tell my story without crying and breaking down. But I still have the panic attacks all the time. I still cry every day. Every day. I can't watch certain movies anymore. I can't listen to certain music anymore. I can't. I can't listen to National Anthem. I can't listen to taps. I can't look at certain photos of myself. I can't talk about certain things to certain people. I feel distant and cut off from the world. I'm depressed all the time. Lately it's been a little bit better. I'm not want to commit suicide depressed, not drink myself into oblivion depressed. but I'm depressed because there's a lot of uncertainty. I should feel really good about, being retired and everything. And I got a new kind of chapter and I'm trying to. It's hard to keep that, in the forefront when you have so much bearing down. I mean, my brain screams it to me 24/7. I can't think one straight thought, period. My sleep is affected. I got machines to help me sleep, pills to help me sleep. I stay up to wee hours because I can't. Socially awkward. People don't see it because I hide it really well. But inside, I'm always screaming in public. I don't want to go out. I know this is kind of getting into the hypervigilance question you want to ask me. But as far as, it's the aftermath is horrible. I mean, it's manageable if using the right resources. But I mean, because I say I'm living the dream all the time, but sometimes the dream can be a nightmare. I had problems the whole way through. There were signs. There were signs. There were signs. Yeah, there were signs that I was having issues. My alcoholism. I mean, I had some incidences. Did they get brushed under the table? No, I definitely got talking to. I definitely got reprimanded a few times on paper. Luckily, I don't know how the hell I didn't receive any AR-15s in my career. But once you get higher up, they don't deal with that shit. It goes a little bit higher. There's other things that you get at certain leadership levels. And they can be detrimental to your career, right? Anything. Like, the stigma has gotten better. I can honestly say that. Like, I promoted it I won't say once. I never really looked at a guy bad for going to seek help. There was always that stoic alpha, idea. You don't need help. You don't go see. I'm fine. Just put some dirt on and drink some water, taking the face out. Yeah, no, okay. After my body started hurting so much, I started going to seeing doctors because, older guys, old timers were like, yeah, man, don't wait like I did. So yeah, and you pass that down. And the Army got better at it too. There's still some work to do, obviously, but they're getting way better at it. I can honestly say that. Now, that's my experience. I've heard some really rough stories from other dudes and other units. And that's the thing is I can't say a unit. I had to say leadership is leadership wherever you go. And I got lucky. I had good leadership. I've had bad leadership too, but I learned something from them as well, either what not to be like. And they also had good traits too. Sometimes they were just a little abrasive and you just got to deal with it. But for me, guys helped me along the way, helped me help myself. There were some times that I probably should have maybe been committed. Like I was in a mental institution. I had to go. I needed it. I needed to go. I was going to end up dead. And I could have went a little bit earlier. Would it have helped? I don't know. Would it have changed? But I think I'm a huge believer in fate. I'm spiritual. I'm not, super religious, but I believe in God. And I believe that there was a reason why I went the timing that I went. And when I went, and I was ready, that was the time. I needed to deal with those things at that time. At that given moment, that's where I was supposed to be. And I firmly believe that. However, we do help our own. Just like nobody wants to see a guy fail. Nobody wants to see a dude who just needs some help fall off when he's capable of so much more. And I've had a really good record. I've worked with some really awesome people, and I've done a lot of good things. I've also done a lot of fucked up things too. I can honestly say that. And because I was a leader too, and I had to help guys out in the same sense. And I watched really good individuals fall from grace too. And you're like, God, this guy's got potential. Let's try and figure out how to help him. And you do the best you can with what you have. And sometimes a lot of people think that, hey, we'll just, like when I was suicidal or when I drank myself into oblivion and ended up in the hospital, I was just like, oh, I fell off and whatever. I made some story up. That did happen. Did my chain command? Yes. Did they talk to me? Oh, yeah. Did they ask me the questions? Sure did. Did I lie to them? A little bit. Why? Because I didn't want to tell them everything. I don't want to let them know that I'm inside dying every day. Like I'm on my last, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. My mind is going 24 miles an hour, just crazy all the time, and I can't handle it. No one wants to say that because then what are they going to do? They'll put me out of position. I let my troops down, and that's really what I guess that's really the biggest one. You don't want to let your troops down. You don't want the dudes below you because I knew I was good at my job, and I still did good at my job. I still tried to take care of my soldiers as best I could, and I knew what else was out there for them. So, you take the good and the bad, and sometimes the bad is looking not necessarily looking away, and that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying not necessarily dealing with it head on. Maybe you should have given a guy a little bit of time, and sometimes that time, though, we've seen guys end up killing themselves. Luckily, I had the right people in my life at the right time. I didn't make that decision or, went down those holes that I was in, especially when I was, drinking myself like crazy because I couldn't deal with what was going on inside. But yeah, I mean, between even my wife, we talk about that stuff too, and that goes in with everything. The whole culture of the military. I mean, we take care of our own. We do, and sometimes maybe we don't make the right choices, but we do. It's not because they do it because they don't care about you. Now, there's some people out there that do. They're just pieces of shit and they don't care, and and they shouldn't be in leadership positions. But what can you do? I mean, you got to weed those out. They'll weed themselves out, and that's just the nature of the beast, But I mean, because I had to go through it myself, and you just want to see a guy succeed. And how do you do that? It's rough. You got to make those. And that's the thing about that. It's not like a normal job. You're making life decisions for a guy, trying to keep him on track, and you might affect his whole life. Now, how do you want to be that guy to say, hey, let's take you down to the station, or let's get you in a mental institution. Now he's getting kicked out, or if you say the wrong thing or do whatever, and now the guy's you just derail his whole career. Or maybe even officers, even worse, man. They don't get hardly any wiggle room. If an officer goes sideways, dude, they're done. Like in the enlisted world, at least, we're kind of like a little union of ourselves. Sergeant majors and stuff that hold the line as far as standards, and then you kind of trickles on down. But we take care of ourselves and our guys. Most people do. However, there's units and you hear about it too. So, what's the right answer? I don't know. Is there a right answer? I don't know. Try and do the best you can. Try and take care of the guy. I probably should have sought a lot more help as far as. I wasn't also being honest too, so I can honestly say that. And why was I honest? Because I was worried. You do worry about it. Like I know if I said some of the things that people are going to see on here, they wouldn't care. They probably talk to me. They're going through the same shit, but like you're still always worried because you're taught to be this strong, alpha soldier, man. Like nothing gets through to you. Nothing gets, nothing hurts you, and you have to just take it all and shove it down. And we say, no, you don't have to talk to people. Yeah, we're getting better at that. But when I grew up back in then, man, I might say back then, I might say back in my day, I just did. But I mean, it was different. I saw the progression of the military move from BDUs, DCUs, and all that to the new to now and everything. Over 20 years, it's been a lot of changes, a lot of uniform changes, a lot of difference in everything. Technology, it all added to it. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know the right answer. I couldn't answer that, but you just want to help people, I don't know, man. It sucks because, like, for me, could they have ruined my career? Yeah. Like, could they say, hey, man, you can get command directed, but you do that, you get tagged. I don't know what the hell it's called. I can't remember. It's like you get tagged on your stuff. You get like a flag or something. That's not what I was talking about. There's like other stuff that you can get on your record that stays on your shit that people can see. Like, they call them like type 2s, type 1. And things like that. And that can affect you. It can affect jobs you can get in the Army. Like you can't do certain positions of trust if you get certain things, so people don't want that, I mean, because then you're looking at back then it was a little bit different as far as, how they did promotions, but you might get passed over, you might, I don't know. And your NCOs and how they do stuff, they might reflect it. So soldiers are worried, and it sucks that they are. It sucks that I was, it took me a while to and I still don't break out of my shell all the time, but the hypervigilance on top of everything, the anxiety is the worst. The anxiety is the worst, and I have it real bad. It's like one of the major factors in why I'm worried about getting a job. I'm luckily right now I can take a little bit of time off. VA's working with me. I don't know, man. Like I go out to public and I'm gonna get a little graphic here when I say this. I have to, but this is how extreme it is for me. We talk about hypervigilance, right? When you go in, you look for exits and you look for, threats, right? But I don't just stop there. For me, it's like I look for the individual in the room that poses the most threat to me, right? I look for that. My wife actually asks me every time we go somewhere, is this okay? Can we sit here? It's embarrassing. It really is, because she knows that I have a problem. I have to sit and see exits or see people, or at least a vantage point where I feel comfortable with my vantage point of where I'm at. And she knows what I'm thinking when I'm sitting there, and that's the shitty part, is like, I'll look at which window I had to throw a chair out of to throw my children through if someone comes through the door with like an M4. Like, what the fuck? Why am I thinking that? I'm trying to enjoy dinner with my family, but I'm worried about someone coming through the door with an M4. Like, what the fuck? I mean, yeah, okay, you can say now, we just had a bunch of mass shootings and shit. Yeah, but I mean, that's my focus. And the whole meal, I'll engage with my family, and I'll try and be mindful in the moment. And I'm there, I'm talking and conversating, but it's those 2 seconds that I stare away from her and I'm looking off I'm not thinking about our conversation. I'm thinking about, okay, there's this thing on the wall I can use to bash somebody's head in, or I can break this chair. I mean, it just goes on, and it never stops until I leave. Like, I don't feel safe until I'm in my house. And that sucks. You know, it really sucks because, and it's not like I'm looking over my shoulder everywhere I go, but I'm like, I sometimes I am, sometimes it's that bad. It's where I don't feel safe. You know, sometimes it's like, you know, when I'm driving, when I first got back, there was that whole shit on the road. It's not like that anymore. And I hope to God this goes away, you know, and everybody says it will over time. It'll go away. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But I mean, I go in depth with how my plan, like I literally plan out my strategy to exit every place I get into. And that'll go on for the whole course of the meal until I actually leave and I get in the car with my wife and I leave and I come home. And that's how it is for me, you know? And then when I'm driving, I look at places, I'll look around and I'm like, okay, I could get a vantage point over there of things, you know, like this, you know, I'm always thinking tactically. And I know, and I'm out and I haven't done anything combat in a while, but damn, I'm still thinking of this shit, you know? And it's not part of my life anymore, you know, but like, that's the reality of it. It's how it is for me. I was with my father. I came home. I know I was on mid-tour leave or some kind of, you know, R&R or something. And we went to the dollar show out at, you know, in one of our towns. You know, it was a cheap one. And it was Batman. So whatever, the new Dark Knight. So whatever the year that came out. It was right during that year. Obviously, it was the year. And we were at the theater and I, you know, was watching all it had to be all the explosions or the loud noises or whatever. And I was watching it and I just started hyperventilating real fast, like real bad. And I started crying and I couldn't control. I was shaking, like convulsing, like real bad. I got up and I jetted out of the place. My dad followed me, you know, and I stood outside and I was just pacing in a circle for a good 10 minutes. And he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I wouldn't talk to him. I was just looking at the ground, trying to not cry and freak out. And he's like, oh, you're having a panic attack. Let's go. And my dad, because my dad served, you know, and my dad's a very intelligent individual. He's like, let's go, let's walk, you know, and he kind of did the tour guide, get the panic attack out of it. We walked around the square for about an hour until I calmed down and I stopped crying. And, you know, he just did the breathe, you know, got my breathing under control. And he looked at me and he said, you're going to have to get that shit under control or it's going to fucking come back to bite you. Yeah. And it did. And it has. But, I mean, it was inevitable. I mean, I didn't think at that point that I was going to get as bad in my life as it is now. Because, brother, man, right now, I mean, like, I shake and, you know, convulsions, all that shit. And, you know, all that stuff that goes with it. But, you know, I seen guys, you know, like I had guys come back from country and they were, you know, they were feeling it right away. And I knew these dudes. These were solid guys. Like these are hitters, man. Like guys that I used to work on the gym, we'd go party with, you know, we got in fights together. And come back and, you know, like, man, you know, like they ended up leaving the military because they were having problems with it. I looked at them and I didn't down them. I was like, man, I'm sorry to hear that. I wasn't feeling it. It took a while for it to catch up to me. But man, when it hit like a ton of bricks. And it crippled me like instantly. It didn't take much for me to go down a very bad road with alcoholism and suicidal thoughts. I was fighting it for years and I tried. The doctors work with me, you know, my not just like, you know, like the psychologists and stuff. I started to go see them a while, man, but, you know, after a while and started getting some help. And that's, you know, it worked for a while. Some things worked, some things didn't. Never got any better. It still hasn't gotten better. I mean, I'm here, you know, out and I'm still on medication. I still have the same problems. I still have the same sleep patterns. I still am hypervigilant as shit. I'm still a homebody because I don't feel safe outside of unless I'm around my wife, you know. I hope one day I can hold a job and be a productive member of society because this ain't me and I don't want it to define me for the rest of my life. But right now it's pretty rough, you know. Well, I mean, one is we try and find means to hide and drown and subdue all those demons that are inside us. So what do? We turn to alcohol, right? Well, that's not a good answer. So what does that do? That makes you more depressed and just feeds the fuel for the negative thoughts and the memories. So some things are survivor's guilt, man. Like when I went to the mental institution that I needed to go to and they helped me out a lot. And I met really awesome people there. A lot of guys there for survivor's guilt, man. You know, it eats a lot of people away. I had guys that, you know, tell me stuff about, you know, like if they would have stepped one way, you know, it would have been them, you know, not their buddy. that's rough to deal with. You know, losing people sucks, you know, I mean, especially when that's your friend or something. So that's a rough one too. I mean, that can take you down a hole that you don't want to go to because, you know, you're alive and your buddy's not, you know, and you're his friend, you know, his wife, you know, his children, and you can help them, but like really, but that shit it just eats you alive, you know? You think about what could I have done differently, and you beat yourself up over it. There's nothing you could have done. I mean, we all know that shit. It's fate. And you can say, oh, I could have went left, right, or man, if I'd have been a little bit faster, like, man, it's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do about it. And the sooner we learn that, the better off you'll be. But you can't tell yourself that. You can't trick yourself that. You either can accept it or you can't, you know. It's hard to. And then there's the other side of it. Like mine is, I got a moral injury from shit I've seen and done. Just being a sniper, man, you know, I mean, you do shit that's most normal people don't do. You get to look down a scope and see what you're shooting at. It's a little different. The missions are different. Everything's different. I'm not taking away from anybody else. That shit affects you wholly. You know, and that's always why I said, don't rape, plunder, pillage, or do whatever. And, you know, would you rather be carried by 6 or judged by 12? How do you want to go home? That's something I used to tell my soldiers all the time. I said, don't do anything stupid that you can't stand in front of your God with. But sometimes that happens. You're in those situations where you still feel like you could have done something different, and it eats away at you. And you get back, it's all over with. And I'm struggling with the shit right now. Like, I'm retired. I'll never be that great again. I say that, be like, yeah, you're an awesome person. You have a great, yeah, I get it. There's a lot on the horizon for me. I'm not taking away from that. But it's hard to visualize that. It's hard to see it. You know, you don't see it happening. It's hard to see away from certain things that you've been exposed to and let it go. It's hard. It's hard. It takes a lot of willpower, and you got to want it, and you got to work at it. But there's light at the end of the tunnel, because I'm doing really good myself, and I'm struggling. I'll struggle every day I get up. It's going to be a struggle till the day I die, or until I can get this, hopefully, away from me, you know, to a point where I can manage it. But guys, I mean, I've lost a lot of dudes to suicide. You know, when I was in a mental institution, I wrote their names down because I didn't realize how many guys I lost. I got them all in that book, man. I remember all their names. And one that happened, you know, I didn't believe it. I was partying with him the night before, and literally he went home and he just ate a fucking pistol, man. I never saw coming. I love the guy to death, man. Yeah, and another buddy, when he came back, I mean, dude, I lost so many friends. I can't even talk about all of them. But why did they do it? I know why they do it. Because they think there's no fucking end to it. There's no way out, you know? They think that's it. It's the road. It's never getting any better. I'm stuck here. I'm going to have these feelings, these emotions. I can't get a handle on it. The meds ain't working. No one's listening to me. Nobody fucking cares. I'm all alone in my struggle. And then you just say, fuck it. And most people just drink themselves to oblivion and then do it. Or some guys just fucking do it, you know? For me, it's pity party bullshit. I can honestly say that. Yeah, I've been through a lot of stuff. Yeah, I have reason to feel the way I do. I got beautiful family and children, and I got a lot of people that love me and friends. I want to stay on this earth, I do. But I'm not going to say I don't think about it. Sometimes it eats away at me. It's just the way it is. I got to deal with that shit too. And that goes into the PTSD just like everything else. And I got nothing. The guys that have done that to themselves, I wish I could have. You say you wish you could have, would have just called somebody. And I try. Now I focus on calling up my friends, calling up guys that I haven't talked to in a long time, making this, you know, this for whoever may see it, man. Just people care. There are people like myself out there. I always put my number out for people. I don't always get a bunch of calls, but I mean, I've been through a lot of shit, and I'm still here. I'm in a lot of pain. It's a struggle, but I'm still alive. And every day I wake up is a blessing, and I try to make the most of it. And I'm getting better at it. I'm trying to change my ways, my life, who I am as a person. I'm trying to pay it forward. But yeah, that dark side of it, man, that shit is just, it's rough. And everybody can go through, anybody. I don't care combat MOS or not. You know, you see a lot of that shit there because you see a lot more shit, obviously. But even the people, you know, I mean, convoys, things happen. I mean, it's war, man. It's war. Anything can happen in war. And I wouldn't take it away from any of the good men and women fighting. I mean, whether you hear about it, see it, or even some of the stuff that you see or do, I mean, it's a different lifestyle, and it's not something that you see every day, and it's not something you're supposed to see. I chose this profession because I knew that I'd be able to handle it to the end. And it fought me the whole way, and it almost let it take me, and it did. But I fought it, and I'm going to continue fighting it until the end. And the end is me living a long life and seeing my children grow up and grandchildren and all that stuff, hopefully. And I would like to help people along the way, honestly. Because I don't want guys, I mean, suicide is not the answer. It's not for anybody. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I got temporary problems. I have some permanent problems, but it's nothing that I can't deal with. And so do a lot of other people. But yeah, when I get that low, man, and I start thinking those stupid thoughts, and they come and go, but it's usually because I give those thoughts a little validity when I shouldn't, and I dwell on things that I shouldn't, and I don't forgive myself when I should, or forgive others. And I need to do that. I need to be forgiving of myself. And that has to happen a lot more, because you gotta love yourself, man. It's me. So, and that's the worst demon of them all. I mean, I can say whole things, but when you actually have to stare yourself in your face in the mirror and look back and say, who are you? What are you made of? Was it all worth it? Did I do the right things? Was I a good leader? Was I a good soldier? Could I have done more? Could I have helped people? You want to say yes to all that. And sometimes you have to say no, and it eats at you. So I guess that's my take on why guys do what they do, and why I understand why they do what they do, because I have some of those problems myself. You're wrong. I was a pretty rough leader. You can ask some of my soldiers, but I thought that was the way. I could say I tried to be flexible, but I've loved who I've had the pleasure of serving with, man. These guys that have suffered along with me and that are still doing this today, that are coming behind me to be the new leadership, solid. Even as a basic training first sergeant, people ask me now, like, oh, we're worried about this thing. No, we have solid young men and women in the United States Army and the military period, and we'll continue to do so. And because of who we are and what we do for a living and a profession, we will continue to train great, brave men and women to go and fight our wars. But on the backside of that, we still need to take care of them when they come back. And some of that it's just education, because a lot of them don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and we have to educate each other on things. And we're getting better at it. The military's we've made leaps and bounds from the 20 years that I've been here. I can honestly say that. Is it all the way there? No. Will it have everybody's stamp of approval? Never. But we can just keep improving. And there are guys out there, providers, healthcare providers that I've had to deal with here where I'm at, where I retired at, and they're awesome. They actually care. They do. There are individuals that care about you. I care. There are soldiers, leaders that care. Yes, there are people that just do not give a shit about anything else but doing whatever. It's fine. That's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss how we can make people in this organization and in the world that we're in, how we can understand what PTSD does, the effects of it, not just in the civilian world, but in the civilian, the military as well. Everybody can experience it. It's depression. It's suicidal ideation. It's anxiety. I mean, shit. I mean, we laugh, say, well, I got PTSD from doing this or something minuscule. Like, it doesn't matter how you get it. It affected you. I don't care. If you have those feelings, I know how you feel. It doesn't matter whether it was in the Army or not. It can cripple you, and it can take away everything that you, like, your will to live, and functioning really. Because, I mean, that sucks, because your bubble starts out here, and that PTSD just makes it real small, where you can't even go outside your house. You're kind of just, you're in that little small thing, and it's hard. It's hard to come out of it. So I hope that this reaches people, and I hope that my story will help somebody along the way. Seek help. There are people out there that care. Find the ones that do. I've been through it all. I'm still struggling. I'm not going to say that I'm recovered and I'm PTSD. No, hell no. I got a long way to go, and I'm going to continue fighting that uphill battle till the day I die. But I'm not going to let it win, because I made it this far, and I can say that it wasn't easy, but it was worth it all. Because the story that I'm telling you, I'll tell my children and those people, and hopefully one day I can get good enough to where I can tell my story without breaking down, and I can help people, because that's really what I'd like to do, is help veterans and other people suffering from things that I suffered from, and that way, because I know how they feel, or even volunteering. I don't care. I just want to be able to help people, because that's where I feel where my life is headed. And I appreciate the opportunity for you giving me to share my stuff with you and the rest of whoever watches this. I love you all. I love my brothers and sisters in arms. It's been a wild ride. PTSD is real, and it is hell. War is definitely hell. There is no lie about that. But you can survive it. You can make it through. And you have people that are supporting you, whether you believe it or not. You just have to look for them. They're there. Seek them out. Seek help. I wish you all the best. I love you all. Good luck and God bless.